Hi, I'm KB and I love movies. Welcome back to the channel. If you're watching this and you like what you see, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're about halfway through the month of May, and for the month of May, I'm following along with Ken over at Mid-Level Media doing his month of Hitchcock, which I don't know if you can see behind me or not, is my favorite director. His style, as far as being the master of suspense, is something that has gone over decades of film lovers, and I'm one of them. So what I'm going to do today is just give you a quick review of what I have in my collection as far as Alfred Hitchcock movies. Before I start, this is a good accompany piece. I have this documentary called Hitchcock Truffaut, and this is a very famous story of when the director Francois Truffaut, who is a student of Hitchcock, sat down with him over a couple of days, him speaking French, Hitchcock understanding French but speaking English with a translator, and they had a long interview just going over pretty much every Alfred Hitchcock movie. From that, we got this very famous book, Hitchcock Truffaut. This is like a Bible for a Hitchcock fan. You probably will never read it front to back, but it has a lot of different parts of the interview, pictures. The middle is my favorite part because sometimes they show you scene by scene breakdowns, and I'm not going to be able to find my favorite. Okay, here's an example. Here's Rear Window, and it's showing you shot by shot in some cases. The biggest example of this would be Psycho. We'll come back to that movie in a few. But I'm going to start from the oldest one, and then I'll just move forward from there. So the first thing I have here is the British International Collection of Hitchcock movies. These are his silent movies that he did before he came to America. So we have The Ring, The Farmer's Wife, Champagne, The Manxman, and The Skin Game. I've seen almost all of these, if not this month, but in the past maybe. But by the end of the month, I will review all these once again. So this is a pretty good collection if you want to get into early Hitchcock. As I say many times, people know the Universal years, you know, the North by Northwest or Vertigo, Psycho, The Birds, that time period. But it's good to see where a lot of those things that he does within the movies started. And it started with his early silent films. From there, we're going to move to, I believe this is 1931, and we have Rich and Strange. This is a recent release from Kino Lorber, and it's a short one, about 83 minutes. This is also one that I'm going to look forward to watching this month again. Jumping back a little bit, we're going to get into the criterions that I have now, and we're going to go back to 1927 with The Lodger. This is a pretty good movie here, and this Blu-ray also contains another movie called Downhill. So the great thing about boutique labels such as Criterion or Arrow or Kino Lorber is sometimes you get the main movie, but in special features you might get one or two extra. A good example of this would be the recent release of In the Heat of the Night, and then you got They Call Me Mr. Tibbs and The Organization as two bonus films. So you get The Lodger and Downhill, both from 1927. Moving forward, we have The Man Who Knew Too Much, the first one. This is 1934, starring Peter Lorre there on the cover. This is a kidnapping heist movie. So this was remade later on with Doris Day and Cary Grant, I want to say. But this is another Criterion Blu-ray release. And there's an audio commentary with Philip Kemp, and he knows a lot about Hitchcock movies, so this is a good one to have in your collection. This one is from 1935. We have the 39 Steps. There's also another good one here. This audio commentary is with Marion Keene. She's a Hitchcock scholar. And I'm mentioning these commentaries because we collectors, we watch it once for the movie, but then the special features or the nostalgia of that movie is what keeps us coming back. So a lot of these Criterion releases contain commentaries that will give us more insight not only to Hitch, but also the movies themselves. Here's one of my favorites. This is 1938's The Lady Vanishes. And as I was mentioning before, if you only know Hitchcock for Psycho and The Birds and Vertigo, go back in his collection. You're missing out on some real gems here, including this one. This one, it's what they call a comic thriller, but it takes place mostly on a train. Hitchcock liked his trains as well as his blondes, but this is a good one. It's kind of like a low-key spy movie, but you find that as the movie goes on. This is a good one. Moving on to his biggest early success, we have 1940's Rebecca. This won for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, and it's actually one of the 2 Hitchcock movies that actually won any Academy Awards. Believe it or not, his fame and his popularity probably came more in his later life than his early career. So this one stars Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine. And as I mentioned before, go back. We have the Criterion sale coming up in July. If you're looking for some different titles to pick up, I would recommend this one as well. This one is not open yet because I watched it on HBO a couple of times already, but this is Foreign Correspondent from the same year, 1940. And this is a common trope of Hitchcock where you have mistaken identity at play. So we see this a couple of times, including North by Northwest being the most popular example of that. But this is another Criterion Blu-ray with that trope. You'll see a lot of times that Hitch worked with similar or the same actors over and over again. And this is another example. We have 1946 Notorious, and this stars Ingrid Bergman and Claude Rains and Cary Grant. This is described as a twisted love story with darker shades of suspense and passion by casting 2 of Hollywood's most beloved stars starkly against type. So if you're used to seeing Ingrid Bergman in certain roles, this is a little bit of a turn, and so is the same thing for Cary Grant. Here's another one that I recently got. We have 1951's Strangers on a Train. Once again, something happening on a train. This one is from Warner. So another one of the Warner Archive collections. So another one to add to the collection here. Talking about Warner Archive collection, this is a 4-pack that I got, I want to say last year. I had a focus last year of trying to collect the Hitchcock movies that I did not have in my collection. And these 4 movies were either DVDs that I had or I never had at all. Of the set, I would say the one that I like the best is The Wrong Man with Henry Fonda. There's a great scene in it, not to give anything away, where we figure out he's the wrong man for the reason by seeing the actual right man. And the way the transition is made is filmmaking genius. That's all I'll say. Paramount Presents started to add to the Hitchcock collection with the release of the Blu-ray To Catch a Thief. Here we have Cary Grant once again, and we have Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly is one of Hitchcock starlets that he liked to use a lot. She was in Dial M for Murder. She was also in Rear Window, probably my favorite performance of hers. And here we have her in To Catch a Thief. I like to call this movie Chicken and Beer. Watch it and you'll understand why. The majority of my Hitchcock collection is from this Blu-ray set called the Masterpiece Collection. This contains 15 movies of his, including the most popular ones. If you have the new 4K sets, either Volume 1 or Volume 2, you'll notice that the format of this book is very similar. It's from Universal, and what they did was they got the rights for movies that weren't necessarily a Universal release. Big example here is MGM's North by Northwest. But in this set we have Saboteur, Shadow of a Doubt, Rope, which is not on 4K yet, Rear Window from the first one, Trouble with Harry from the second, The Man Who Knew Too Much, here it is, I think I said Cary Grant before, it's James Stewart and Doris Day, Vertigo, also on Volume 1 of 4K, North by Northwest, this needs a 4K, Psycho from Volume 1, The Birds, also from Volume 1, Marnie from Volume 2, Torn Curtain, that's with Paul Newman and Julie Andrews, Topaz, and then we have the last two of Alfred Hitchcock's movies. We have Frenzy from 1972, and then finally Family Plot. These last two can be found on Volume 2 of the 4K collection, but I can't really justify getting the 4Ks yet. If there's some crazy sale, I might pick it up. But the problems that were on this disc, as far as the transfers from the film negatives, carry over to the 4Ks. I'm sure they look spectacular from what people have reviewed and said about it, but the fact that they didn't go back to the film negative to remaster it kind of has me leery about spending money to get movies that I don't actually watch all the time, especially Volume 2. Out of the Volume 2 movies, I think Shadow of a Doubt is actually one of my favorite movies, and the only one I would really want to upgrade to 4K, and I could do that individually. Volume 1, the two movies that I wanted from that set the most, I actually went and got on 4K. So with that, my two favorite movies, we have Vertigo in 4K. This is probably his best movie. And then I have the Steelbook 4K of Psycho. So that's it for my collection. There's always more to get. Hopefully in years coming, we'll have some of his earlier stuff that's only Region 2 on DVD, maybe upgraded to Blu-ray or maybe 4K, hopefully. Hopefully we'll get the North by Northwest on 4K. I'll definitely pick that up if that happened. And this is a great month to dive into Hitchcock. And as I said, go past the typical bullet points that, titles that everyone looks at, and look at some of his other selections. There's a lot of great stuff out there. So this is me signing off. So until next time, go watch a Hitchcock movie.